Hey guys, and welcome to week 2. Hopefully week 1 you had a tremendous amount of success. Hopefully you had some, whether it be weight loss or your clothes fit a little bit better or you're able to do a push-up or just different things like that. But hopefully you're seeing success. And if you stuck to the principles that I kind of call out in the book, as well as doing the workouts, like you should have seen success. But what I find a lot is during week 2, especially if people have had success, like that week 1 honeymoon that we talked about is kind of over now. And you get into week 2 and you really want to kind of start letting yourself off the hook. You want to start cheating a little bit here. It's not as big of a deal. We had this, we did that. I'm going to sleep in a little bit longer, skip the workout. That's why in week 1 we went over what's your why first. Remember of why you started doing this. When you want to quit, when you want to cheat, when you want to, have that bowl of ice cream at 10 o'clock at night while you're binge watching your favorite show on Netflix, that you understand, no, here's the reason I'm doing this, and then you can, that'll help motivate you to do the right thing. Now this week we're going to talk about nutrition. And this might be the week that's the most painful, the most annoying to hear, because it's going to be some different changes and things like that. But again, it should be anything that's not manageable. When I think about nutrition, one of the phrases that come to my mind is missed it by this much or missed it by that much. If you're familiar at all with the TV show Get Smart or the more recently redone movie with Steve Carell, which is amazing. I'd recommend watching that if you haven't seen it yet. Get Smart is about this agent named Maxwell Smart, who is super smart, does a lot of things right, but when he's in the field, he does like 98% of the things right. And just that little bit that he misses that's wrong ends up resulting in disaster, right? So for instance, in one of the times, he is going from a rooftop and trying to like a secret agent James Bond swing into a window. Well, he does everything right. He uses the grappling hook right. He shoots it correctly. Everything's lined up perfectly. He jumps off the roof. He's swinging perfectly, but instead of going into the window, he slams into the wall right next to the window. And he missed it by, that much. And that much made a massive difference. It went from safely flying into an open window or slamming into a wall. Obviously, huge difference in what the outcomes were based upon just that much. And just like Maxwell Smart, you can do nearly everything correctly and still just miss it by that much and not get the results you're looking for. So maybe you've been in that boat before where you feel like you're eating well, you feel like you're doing things correctly, you're working out, you're putting in the work, but you're not seeing what you want to see. You're not getting where you want to get. Well, you're missing it by that much. So another phrase I think of as we're going through this is in regards to nutrition, you got to do 3 things. You got to eat the right amount of the right foods at the right time. So let me break that down for you as to what that means. So first, let's start off with eating the right amount. With food, one of the things that I always look at is the nutrition labels to read through what's there. So you think about having the right amount of the right food. When is the last time you looked at a serving size? I know for me, I can think that I'm eating healthy, and so I take this thing that in and of itself might not be that unhealthy, and I grab a handful of them and I start eating them, and I'm still a little hungry, so I grab another handful, and then by the time I'm done and I go look at the serving size, what I realize is that my first handful was more than what the serving size actually was. And then I ended up having 2 or 3 handfuls. So a big part of nutrition is going to be eating the right amounts of the food. You have to eat the right amount. Now, something else that's going to be super important to help in eating the right amount of the food is to just slow down as you eat. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about literally eating in slow motion or putting the spoon up to your mouth in a very slow manner, but what I am talking about is especially with like utensils, is after you take a bite, put your utensil down, put your fork down, put the spoon down. Actually eat your food and think about what you're eating. Now, I'm not saying you got to get all weird on it or anything like that, right? You don't got to go all Bill Murray and What About Bob where you're being real crazy with your food, but enjoy it. What does the food taste like? I mean, even like, what does it make you think of? What are there memories that are associated with that food? The people that you're with, like, engage in conversation and really be present as you're eating. In most other cultures, dinner is like an event. And we kind of make it more as a task, something that we got to get done. And so we hurry through it really quickly. One of the things I would also recommend in regards to slowing down is to, as much as possible, not eating your dinner in front of the TV while you're binging your Netflix. What is going to cause to happen there is that you're going to just mindlessly go through the food very, very quickly, and you're not even honestly going to realize how much you're eating and how fast you're eating it. And then also too, you'll realize that you're not really as hungry as you think you are but you keep eating because your mind is distracted with Netflix or something like that. So again, as we talk about eating the right amounts of the food, serving size. Look at serving sizes as you eat and stick to the serving size. Also to slow down. Put your utensils down. Eat your food. Swallow your food before you take your next bite. I know I've been there. Like, you're just so hungry or you want to eat it so bad. You take a bite. I didn't even think about a hamburger. You take a bite of the hamburger and you're like chewing. And before you're even done with that bite, maybe you only did like 4 or 5 bites, you're suddenly taking another bite. Now take a bite. Put it down, enjoy what you're eating, and then take the next bite. Engage in conversation, talk with people. What will happen is you actually will realize how full you are, and it'll prevent you from overeating or taking more when you really don't need it, right? So, like I said, right amount of the right food at the right time. We just talked about the right amount. Now let's talk about the right food. Out of the gate, let me tell you, all calories are not the same. So for instance, the calories that you take from eating an apple is not going to be the same as the calories you take from eating like a Snickers bar or something like that. As much as they both have calories, they're not the same. The nutritional value you get from those are going to be totally different, and the way your body uses the nutrition that's gained from those is going to have drastic impacts on energy, working out, and weight loss. So, right amounts of the right food. With the right foods, what you want to make sure with foods that you're eating is that you take also with the nutrition label, take a look at the ingredients list. Right? So for the most part, if there's an ingredients list that's about this long, you probably don't want to be eating that food. You're going to want to stick to eating foods that are made with simple ingredients. And even by simple ingredients, I mean things for the most part that you're going to be able to pronounce, right? You're going to want to stay away from preservatives and chemicals. And if there's a moxapoxafoxin in something, yeah, don't eat that. If you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't be eating it. And this is really going to eliminate a lot of things that you eat. And it's going to be a pain in the neck at first. But let me tell you, it gets easier. It takes a little bit of deliberateness, and that's really what health is. Health is just a little bit of deliberateness in the various areas of your life. And so with food, it's saying, okay, with my snack, what am I going to eat? Have I prepared it? For me, a lot of the snacks that we have at home now are homemade with real simple ingredients. Now they're delicious, but we do got to prepare those snacks ahead of time. So that way when it's snack time, I don't just grab the quickest thing that's there, but I grab something that's already been made, that I know has been made with simple ingredients with no preservatives. So the right amount of the right food is ingredient list. You got to be taking a look at ingredient list. And I also take a look at sugars. Sugars aren't the end of the world, but you definitely want to minimize the sugar intake that we're doing because our bodies don't do awesome with lots of sugar. So pay attention to the sugars, pay attention to the ingredients, keep things simple, and be deliberate about your snacking, about your eating. Keep things that are easy to pronounce ingredients, right? There should be, in your foods that you're eating, you should be able to say, okay, like there's 5 or 6 ingredients in this and I know what they all are. As opposed to there's 1,000 ingredients in this and 7 of these sound like they came from a chemical laboratory. You're gonna wanna stay away from that stuff, right? Things that are, for the most part, that are gonna be prepackaged or boxed, as much as they're convenient, what we give up for convenience is astounding from a health standpoint. Don't be that. Be deliberate. Understand that you want to be healthy. Remember why you're doing this, and when you eat, pay attention to make sure you're eating the right foods. Now the next thing is the right time, right? So we talked about the right amounts of the right food at the right time. There are certain times where we should and shouldn't be eating because our bodies were made to digest and use energy at certain amounts of time, or at certain parts of our day. So for instance, when you're sleeping, your body is still burning calories and still technically using energy, but obviously it's reduced. Your body is slowing down so that you can sleep. And so when you eat, you don't want to be eating a lot of food right before you go to bed because your body is not going to be able to digest that as well because your body's programmed to slow down towards the end of the day so we can sleep. So technically there is like this magic window, they call it, of when we should be eating, right? So, and it can be different for different people, right? Everyone's biochemistry is a little bit different. So I'm not saying that this is like some hardcore times you got to stick to. But for the most part, right around here is when you're going to want to be eating, right? So the hours between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. are what we're going to want to call our eating time, right? And not that means you're just pigging out during 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., right? Because you still got to make sure you're eating the right amount of the right foods, but the right time is that 12-hour window of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. when our body is ready to consume calories, to convert it to energy, and then to be able to use that energy as you are at work, as you're being a husband, or as you're being a father, wife, mother, working out, jogging, whatever you're doing, our body is primed to burn calories during the day, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's when you're going to want to get all your eating done. So that means no eating as we're looking to be healthy and lose weight past 8 p.m. Again, it means you're going to have to be a little bit deliberate. So a lot of times that's where that Netflix binging happens, right? So not only are we binging Netflix and probably overeating because we're not paying attention to how much we're eating, we're also eating at a really bad time, which not only is going to be bad for your digestion and bad for burning calories, but it's also going to hinder your sleep. You will sleep better if your body is done digesting food by 8 p.m., right? So you kind of want to think about 3 hours. You want to be done eating about 3 hours before you go to bed, right? So just with easy math, if you're done eating at 8 p.m., that's 9, 10, 11 p.m. is when your body is going to be done digesting that food and when it'll be really primed for sleep. So at 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. is going to be the magic window of really where we're going to want to be eating, right? So again, to refresh, we have the right amounts of the right foods at the right time. You hit all 3 of those and it's going to be amazing. And you hit all 3 of those consistently and deliberately, it's going to be unreal. But if you miss one, it's going to be just like Maxwell Smart, where it's like, you were this close and you missed it by this much, you're going to find that you're kind of undercutting what you're trying to do. And you're actually going to be hurting yourself and preventing the results that you really want. So the last thing I want to talk about with you this week in regards to nutrition is water. So we talked about food, but sometimes water is often missed, right? And so it is amazing how much our body needs water. And in fact, what the ramifications are of dehydration, even a little bit of dehydration. Maybe a fun fact if you didn't know this, but if you're thirsty, you're dehydrated. That is your body's way of letting you know that you need water. So whenever you're feeling thirsty, you can automatically know, I'm not drinking enough water, right? And we all get there, right? So, I'm not saying you gotta punish yourself, but that's just the reality of our bodies. We need water. Most of us drink profoundly too much water. So maybe you're thinking, is what I thought before I learned this, is how much water should I be drinking? Super easy. Take your body weight, divide it in half, and that's how many ounces of water you should be drinking. So for easy math, if you weigh 200 pounds, divide that in half, that would be 100 pounds. And so you should be drinking 100 ounces of water, right? So there's different ways you can keep track of that. There's all kinds of apps in regards to drinking water you can keep track of. One of the things too is I think about is like if you're like, okay, if you had to drink 100 ounces of water every day, you can usually get a 32 ounce water bottle or something like that. Well, 32 times 3, you're going to be at 96. That's just about 100 ounces of water. So you can think I need to drink 3 of these. And that's kind of how I keep track of my water, is by how many water bottles of something I'm drinking. So water is going to be the super important part. It's also too going to help fill you up. So a lot of times when we feel hungry, it's actually our body telling us that we're thirsty, and we just translate it wrong, and so we start eating food as opposed to drinking water. So I would tell you, if you're eating well, especially if you're seeing that your water intake isn't super high, well, next time you feel hungry, drink some water instead, and then just wait a little bit. You might find that you get full, or that you actually weren't as hungry as you thought you were, but that you were just more thirsty. Another kind of like pro tip, if you will, is that before you eat dinner, drink some water. Like drink about an 8-ounce glass of water before you eat dinner, so that way you don't confuse dinner hunger with dinner thirst, and therefore you would end up eating less food, which is a good thing. So water. So we have, again, just to recap one last time, we have eating the right amounts of the right foods at the right time, and then supplementing and drinking water. It's so important for us to be drinking water. Tell you what, you hit those things and you will not be like Maxwell Smart. You'll be nailing it every time. Now here's the thing, it takes consistency. One day of doing this won't be enough, and not even 2 days, right? You want to be consistent. And if you have a day where you struggle, or a meal where you struggle, or something kind of falls off the rails, don't freak out and don't flip out. It's not a big deal. Here's the thing. You're always one decision away from getting back on track and doing things the right way, right? Just don't let one bad decision turn into 2, into 3, into 4, right? Don't think, well, my breakfast was bad, or I had a bad dinner, so I guess this week is gone, right? That's obviously going to be super counterintuitive to what you're trying to accomplish. You're always just one good decision away from getting back on track, right? You mess up, whatever, we all do. Move on, keep going. Guys, you got this. Week 2, we got it coming. We're going to hit it hard. It's going to be an amazing week. Keep going. Hit your goals. Talk to you guys later.